Welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Again, if you need help with your letter of intent, please go to residency.teachable.com where you can see some options on help with interviews, CVs, and letters of intent. The big news that was just posted yesterday, and I got it in the email today because I had a hotel booked for ASHP Midyear, but it is going to go virtual. And what I wanted to do was go through the FAQ and make a couple of notes regarding that, but you can find that frequently asked questions list on the ASHP Midyear Clinical Meeting Goes Virtual website. So first things first, why did they move it? They said that they moved it because of the Delta variant. We were just in Florida end of August or beginning of August, and it was just kind of starting to blow up there. But Florida has just absolutely blown up as the kind of COVID capital of the country right now. And we have no idea if this spike is going to drop or it's going to go up. And it is a huge meeting. So you can't really just cancel it last minute. So we are, September, October, November, and then beginning of December, we are 100 days out. But this is going to be a huge game changer for a lot of you. And I wanted to talk about some of these things that this is going to happen. The big change, and I'll get to it in a bit, is that it is no longer free. So the question is it still worth going to the meeting? And I will TLDR that and say that, yes, it probably still is. But because you don't have to use the airfare, you can use that money to hopefully get some more applications, get some more help with your applications and things like that. So I don't believe the dates have changed. I think we were going in Saturday just to have a Saturday night there and then going in through Wednesday. So the dates don't look like they've changed any. And that means that if you are taking final exams, you don't have to leave for it. And if you were planning on leaving your rotation, you may want to talk to your preceptors because I think Drake is one of them. I'm not sure if it is in December, but one of their blocks is actually 6 weeks instead of 5. I know some schools actually do 6 weeks, but 6 instead of 5, so you could leave for a week. But I would wonder if you're flexible enough, do you want to go some days, like on the days that you would have the showcase, Monday and Tuesday, something like that. Or is it Tuesday and Wednesday? But showcase is in there. I'll talk about that in a minute. Most of the same things are going to happen from virtual midyear, but there's a lot of differences between last one. So the first and biggest one of them all is that no, students, residents, and technicians will not get free registration this year, and the costs are substantial. But when it comes to what you get out of it, it's going to really come down to, are you going to be able to meet with the programs at Showcase? And that decision to go to the meeting or not really comes down to what the schools are going to do themselves. So I'm not sure what the cost is in terms of a program putting their residency in ASHP Showcase, but I do know that a lot of them already are pretty good at doing it themselves. And what the Showcase does is it's kind of the Amazon of things where, everybody comes to Showcase. So a lot more eyes get on their residency site. But here are the costs. If you are someone that registers before October 31st, and I don't know if this applies to residents, pharmacy technicians, and students, but the difference is about only $70. So November 1st to December 9th and advanced registration. So just not a huge difference there. Residents 410, and I'm not sure if you get that paid by your residency site. That's kind of up to them. Pharmacy technicians, $410 for members, $545 if you're a non-member, which is pretty substantial. That, you're talking about a pharmacy technician versus a pharmacist salary. Let's say the tech is, high-level tech making $20 an hour and the pharmacist is making $60. The pharmacist is making triple what the technician is, but the cost to the pharmacist is about 1.5 times what it is. So But I know that for many pharmacy technicians, this is more about accrediting a particular program and so forth. So students, $340 if you're a member. That's pretty substantial, especially if you didn't get a free membership. And then non-member is $480. And then retired won't really apply to you guys. But again, we're talking $300-$400 for a single, a couple of days of showcase. And the big thing is, if you're presenting your poster, it's kind of a no-brainer. You have to register because presenting a poster at a national meeting is one of the big things in the rubric that says this person stands out. Let's put them in the short pile of those that we're really, really considering and feel that stand above the rest. Okay, but again, the big thing is that it's not free and the cost is quite substantial. And if you, these are always videos. I don't usually do audio. Every once in a while I'll do just an audio one, but there's a visual component to this too if you want to go to Tony PharmD YouTube. When we go back, ASHP is giving full refunds to people that want to cancel their registration. They don't want to go to virtual. They just wanted to be there. I had booked my hotel. I've already gotten my cancellation. We'll see about going to Orlando. I mean, it would be kind of cool just to go and still kind of register for it. But that kind of makes it's a little bit tough to go to your boss and say, hey, I need flights to Orlando to a virtual meeting. So I don't know if that'll work out. But I didn't book my flights already, so that wasn't really an issue. This is the big thing, though. You can't do a partial registration, and I'm not sure why they... I guess I know why they do this, but many students are just going to go for the showcase. So it would make sense to have kind of a fourth year package for those of you that are just going to showcase and just going to present your poster or something like that. But unfortunately, only full registration options are available. They're going to keep, kind of updating everybody. Right now, they just wanted to kind of make the big announcement that this was happening. Presentations. So yes, there are still going to be presentations and there still are going to be posters, but it's going to be a little bit different. And the big thing is that if you are presenting a poster, you really, really want to make sure that you do register because you want to get that on your CV. You don't want to put something like, it was accepted, but I didn't go because I didn't want to pay the money. And then I would contact your school if the money is an issue. But if you're planning to fly there and stay there, you've got the hotel and flight, which are gone. So hopefully this is not quite as expensive. This is for exhibitors, so we won't really look at that. The really nice thing about the poster presentations is that once it's on a virtual platform, you can see what other people are doing. So if you are a P1, P2, or P3, and I would really, really encourage you to take a look at the posters and kind of see what you're interested in. And if they have them in kind of a PDF or sometimes a PowerPoint format, I would just download a bunch of them that seem interesting to you so that you're not reinventing the wheel when it's your turn to do these posters in your final year. Will the Residency Showcase be included? Yeah, I don't think that there's an extra cost for it, but the big thing is that the programs themselves had secured huge booths. Like when you look at UNC and Iowa and I think Mayo, I really wish you guys could go because it's going to be now 2 years of a group that didn't go. But when you go into Showcase, it's like going into England where there's like a castle and there are these flags and you see PGY2, oncology, PGY2 ER and emergency medicine, PGY1, and just this huge row of programs and people to talk to, and it's just ginormous. And I'm not sure how that works because you're obviously going to need larger bandwidth if you're a larger program to talk to more people. Smaller bandwidth if you're a smaller program. So I'm not exactly sure how that works, but they've done it before. So that's going to be kind of a benefit that it's going to already be working. PPS. So this is kind of unfortunate to some extent because these are going to be video meetings where it really is so different when you get to go there, talk to the person. and especially for those of you doing fellowships. If you don't know, with the residency process, you're really looking at the showcase as your area. But if you're thinking about fellowship, the interviews for fellowship are at ASHP. So, excuse me, you're not, when you're in residency or going towards residency, your interview comes later. You go to the showcase, you put in your application, and hopefully you get some interview invitations. But fellowship interviews are at PPS, and so are job interviews. So it's really unfortunate that's not there, but again, it makes it a little bit easier to talk to a lot more people if that's the case. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the big issues here. And the biggest issue is going to be the match statistics. So right now we're looking at this graph and we're seeing applicants participating in the match, and we see that there was actually a tiny drop from 7,364 to 7,321. And that reflects a little bit of a reduction in the number of students going through pharmacy school, but also the increase in attrition. That is, students, because they're accepting students at a higher rate, a little over 82%, that means that the students that are coming in are not as academically, I want to say the right word, they don't have the same academic standing as the students when you were taking, I don't know, 30% when we're talking about 10 years ago. So right now, the national average, when you talk about all the students going to all the schools in PharmCast, that they're going in and they're getting in at about 82%, where about 10, 15 years ago, it was harder to get into pharmacy school than medical school. And the reason why, like, why would that be? Why wouldn't people want to go to medical school? And the reason was that pharmacy school was the place to get that kind of high-paying part-time job where you can be part of, have a family life. And I mean, that promise has been fulfilled for me. While I used to work in retail and have relatively decent hours for retail, since I've moved into teaching at a community college, I don't work nights or weekends. And yeah, I could pick up a class or two on a night instead, but I don't even know what it is. I work on the weekends because I enjoy what I do and I prepare for classes and things like that, but I am at every game that my kids have, and I was coaching them for the last 4 years in soccer. So the funny thing is that when you're in school, the kind of, big money, go anywhere is pretty cool. But when you're a family person and you've got kids and stuff, unfortunately, many of the positions are really incompatible with having a good family life. But let's look at some of the other things. So the positions offered went from 4617 to 4771 to 4940. So still a little bit of an increase in positions. And then unmatched applicants actually went down. So that's, again, a little bit better than we had before. And then unfilled positions remains, I think it was 53 unfilled positions in 2021. And there were 43 last time. So just a few more unfilled positions. And I've got a couple of episodes coming up on the highest salaries and easiest ones to get into, but I don't really want to belabor that. What I want to talk about is how does this meeting affect the match trends? And the big thing you want to look at is going to be down here, which is the schools, the PGY1 and PGY2. So let's start with the PGY1. When you look at the PGY1, and you have to kind of scroll down historical match statistics, there's a summary, there's for applicants, there's for residencies and programs. And I've shown this quite many times. When we look at what schools are successful in the pandemic, that's all of these schools. And so what I'm expecting is that the same schools that were successful in the pandemic are going to be successful this year in the pandemic, because we are still under those kinds of conditions. Now, there were some issues where some people didn't get their APPEs before the interview time, and that made things hard. But there are certain aspects of schools that make it more likely or less likely that you're going to match. But you really want to take the time to take a look at which schools, what your school has in terms of a match rate. So registered again means, okay, this is everybody that was thinking about doing the match and paid some money. Active with the list means you actually submitted some application after an interview. So nobody that's active with the list would really come here if they didn't get an interview. Now, that's not to say everyone didn't get an interview. It's just saying maybe you got an interview with the place and you're like, I didn't really like them. I'm just not even going to go for it. I've got a community position or a entry-level hospital position I want. But right now, that's kind of it. And then the match rate, when a school says my match rate is such and such, they're talking about the people that matched out of the people that were active with the list. So those that got an interview. And that's really misleading in some cases, because if you're a school that had only a few people interview, but a lot of those people that interviewed matched, then your match rate could be like 60 or 70%. But of the people that actually wanted a residency, it might be like 40. And then the unmatched here. So first step, make sure you look at your match rate. And that's going to kind of help you know if you need to go or not. The lower the match rate, I think, the higher your need to go to midyear as a general rule. The other thing I wanted to kind of point out is PGY2s. And what you're going to see here is something that you don't see on the other one, which is zeros. So you're like, whoa. When we start scrolling down in the first column, we see some zeros up there, some ones, another zero here, another zero here. And what that's saying is either the school is so new that they didn't have any PGY1s, or there are so few PGY1s that are coming out of that school that we're really not seeing that they're getting anything as a PGY2. So that's kind of another concern about where you are. Let me go down to a school that I just wanted to look at real quick. Yeah. Okay. All right. So when we look at this list, though, there's an extra column, which is early commits. And as you are looking at the programs, what you want to look at is, okay, am I going into a program where I can go right to PGY2? That option is there in the same medical center, or that I have to kind of go out into the wide world. And it's about half of, maybe a third to a half early commit, and then there's the rest of them. But I would really, really encourage you to find a program that would already have something that you want. Your idea of what you want may change, but it just makes it so much easier to have that early commitment and the option to do it if that's a place you end up liking. Then active with lists, matched and unmatched. But know that where you are, you may never see a PGY2 because the number of PGY1s is so small, or that the PGY1s don't get the kinds of residencies that would qualify them for PGY2. And as I've mentioned a number of times before, PGY1 is extremely regional. So in general, and this is not true for all places, the higher tier ones will take people from other places. But in general, you will see a very regional grouping of a certain number of schools and things like that, which I think will continue this year. And then PGY2s are from all over. So it's a very homogeneous group for PGY1 in terms of region, and it's a very heterogeneous group for PGY2 from all over the country. Okay. So kind of last thing, I wanted to talk about the courses, because this is kind of the time where I'm getting kind of inundated with people that want to work one-on-one. The residency interview prep and support, this is really meant to help you understand what you're trying to do and how do you score points. So there's 3 hours of content in the Rockstar residency interview prep and support, and then you can email me as much as you like, really, about questions as you're going through the process that either you're not getting answers from your own school, or that maybe you feel uncomfortable and you can't, for example, ask certain questions of the person that's recommending you because you'll look like you don't know what you're doing. and you want to show confidence and so forth. The Extreme LOI Makeover is what I'm really known for, working with letter of intent. And this is where I have a template in there for you. And then what you do is you submit to me your letter of intent. And what I'll do is we'll work together to make a template that will get you ready for all, 12 or 15 or whatever. Checkbox CV and resume planner. If you want help with your CV and resume, I can do that. Many schools are pretty good about this, but really it's the letter of intent, which I think is a reflective thing. So the one caveat, and I'm glad you stayed through the 20-minute mark for this, but the one caveat I will tell you is that when it comes to virtual, I would put people in 3 tiers. You are, and I'm talking about individual programs, you are a favorite candidate, you are an average candidate, or you are a lower to no chance candidate. And what do you do to get in each of those boxes? One of the big things that you need to do is you need to make your decisions about where you're going to go now, because it's the individual meetings that the residents have, not the big showcase, but the ones for, like, I think Michigan didn't even do showcase. Like, you had to go to the Michigan presentations and webinars and so forth to learn about it and to meet their people. So I would be really remiss if I didn't tell you that you should have many of your residency choices set up by September to start looking at where those programs are and the ones that you're really looking at and really hoping to get to. And then when you kind of get into October, that's when you can kind of start fine tuning it, working with your friends and kind of maybe expand it a little bit and figure it out. But I have talked to people over and over and over again, and there is truly a huge divide. You're either in the big group of probably not going to get the residency, or you are in the small group of probably going to get the residency. And the difference is that they went to the individual showcases that the individual residency programs had. So you can, again, look at this as glass half full, glass half empty. I think that it's in the glass half full scenario. I think that if you can use these kind of tactics to know that, all right, well, I'm going to have my best chance by going regionally. I can make sure to follow those residencies that are regional to me. Make sure that I'm talking to my friends, talking to my school, making sure that we're finding out, okay, where and when are these going to be? And second, okay, if I'm going to present, I want to make sure to get my registration for ASHP. There are going to be, I think, fewer people registering and going to showcase than would have if it wasn't virtual. And that gives you an advantage, I think. So I think that what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to say, it's really just not worth my $400. I'm just going to apply. Because it's the Residency Showcase. They're going to be the ones talking about themselves. It's not me really connecting with anybody. But I think what's going to happen is there will be fewer people that are going to be going to Showcase than would have if it had been an in-person thing. So I think that even, especially since you're not doing airfare, you're not doing rental car, you're not doing hotel, it really makes a lot of sense to go to ASHP Midyear. So if you got questions for me, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com. But again, I want you to succeed. And honestly, it really breaks my heart to know that there are just a few things that the people that do get residencies do that are different than those that don't. And knowing those couple of things is really what separates them. And I think that almost everyone that wants a residency can get one if they follow the steps, if they have all the right moves and so forth. So, all right, well, that's enough for now, almost at 25 minutes. I will talk to you later about high residency salaries and some of the easiest residencies to get into.